As you know, I welcome the Security Council's adoption of a resolution demanding a cessation of hostilities throughout Syria for at least 30 days. But Security Council resolutions are only meaningful if they are effectively implemented. And that is why I expect the resolution to be immediately implemented and sustained, particularly to ensure the immediate, safe, unimpeded and sustained delivery of humanitarian aid and services, the evacuation of the critically sick and the wounded, and the alleviation of the suffering of the Syrian people. As you know, the United Nations is ready to do its part. In particular, Eastern Ghouta cannot wait. It's high time to stop this hell on earth. And I remind all parties of their absolute obligation under international humanitarian and human rights law to protect civilians and civilian infrastructure at all times. And similarly, efforts to combat terrorism do not supersede these obligations. We are seeing a groundswell of xenophobia, racism and intolerance, including anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim hatred. Far-right political parties and viewpoints are seeing a resurgence. Refugees and migrants are often denied their rights and unjustly and falsely vilified as threats to the societies they seek to join, despite the proven benefits they bring. But let me single out the plight of the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar. I have traveled several times to northern Rakhine. In my experience, the Rohingya are one of the most discriminated against populations in the world, and that was even before the crisis of the past year. Deprived of nationality, they have been subjected to extreme brutality by military forces and others, and cast out of their homes and country in a clear example of ethnic cleansing. They are under a siege as a group, simply for who they are. And this is why I took the initiative to write an official letter to the Security Council about this issue. And this is the first time since 1989 that the Secretary General has taken such an action. The Rohingya community desperately needs immediate life-saving assistance, long-term solutions, and justice. I call on the government to ensure unfettered humanitarian access in Rakhine State, and I appeal to the international community to support those who have fled to Bangladesh.
Links between the three pillars of the United Nations work, development, peace and security, and human rights, must also be made stronger. The 37th session of the Human Rights Council will tackle some of the most horrific cases of human rights violations from around the world. You will pursue accountability for violations which have already occurred, and you will seek to identify ways to prevent similar violations from happening again. And here, I want to note that there are people out there now who are counting on us to work even harder. They are sitting in jail cells, not because of who they murdered or what they stole, but because they wrote or spoke about what they believed. They are in cramped, airless workshops or factories when they should be in schools. They are living in fear of the secret police because they have stood up for human rights of others. They are in physical or emotional pain because of which person they love or which God they worship. They are calling out from all over the world, and we need to put our ears to the walls of this palace, of the United Nations building in New York. We need to hear them, and we need to respond to them.
I give the floor to the Secretary General of the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres. Excellency, the floor is yours.